We're back. Back into talking about where it all turned to shit for me. Back onto where I basically fell over. And we talked about a little bit on the last episode about how I got there and how I wonder if things could have been different if what happened didn't happen. But if it didn't, I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. And the reason that I'm sitting here talking to you is maybe, just maybe, someone is out there and needs to hear about it. And I know I've sort of waffled on a bit, just talking about myself and my story, but from the heart, that is just in an effort to make it real for people and show... I'm putting my heart out on the line here. I'm putting it all out there, which is not an easy thing to do, but that is because it isn't an easy thing to do. So some people don't do it, and some people don't do it, and it gets around and to the point where people commit suicide. Thankfully, I never got to that point. I don't know that I've ever been to that point. I certainly did have feelings that no, it was never something that I looked at as being an option. I used to get a little bit concerned and anxious and have anxiety around whether you actually know if you're getting that way to be able to stop yourself. I still don't know the answer to that one, and like I've said before, I am not a professional, so please don't take anything that I say here as professional advice, because that's not what it is. It's just my story at the minute, about what I went through to share, because someone else could be on the teetering point of falling over themselves, the teetering point of their own mental breakdown, and I'm here to tell you that it is a lot easier. It has to be a lot easier to actually stop yourself before you tip over than what it is to tip over and try and rebuild everything. So in the story, I've got to the point where I'm now dwindling into a massive depression. So not only have I had this massive panic attack and all that anxiety has built up in me, on the back of that, I have fallen into a deep depression. The world's against me. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to keep my business going. I am talking to a professional by this time in the story, which helps me to air those feelings and keep pushing on. But I'm still crying a lot. Still feeling like absolute shit. I'm still physically struggling. We're weeks after our trip that ended in the Tumen emergency room for a panic attack. And I'm feeling pretty bloody rubbish. And like I said, I don't know how, but I did. I put one foot in front of the other. I got pretty low though. I was leaning on those appointments with the psychologist. Yeah, with the psychologist that much. I really was getting relief out of that, being able to work through how I'd gotten where I was and all that sort of stuff, to where, and my memory was pretty fuzzy. There's a lot of shit going through your brain. You get a bit bloody blurry. And I missed one of my appointments. And I'm not sure whether it was the psychologist who called or whether I had realised myself I'd found the card or whatever it might have been. And I crawled under my bed and cried. In that moment, it was the end of the world. I'd missed that appointment, and how could I possibly one, do that and let that person down who was waiting for me on the other side of, the situation, but also how the hell am I going to get through the next 2 weeks without talking to someone about what the hell's going on. I didn't want to share with people because I actually had the feeling within myself that it was contagious. I thought that if I shared my anxieties around death and dying and words like eternity and forever and the anxieties about not being able to fit everything in and be there for my family and my kids and my work and all that, I thought if I shared that the person that I shared it with was going to catch it. And I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. I really just was very afraid that if I spoke to somebody about it in my friends and family circle, that person would catch what I've got and that would ruin their life. Where I guess the psychologist, it's their job. You pay them for their service and you pay them to help you through. So I guess that was, in my head, that was okay to talk to them, but I wouldn't share with my family and friends because I didn't want them to catch it. I didn't want them to get what I got. And as it turns out, that it's not actually how it works. Although I do feel for supporters of those with mental illness, it's a lot of pressure on you guys as well. So maybe you're on that side of it. And for all those people, I thank you on behalf of all those people that you're helping to support. And if it ever gets on top of you, my advice is to also seek out some help. Don't become the person that needs to be cared for just because you're trying to protect the person that you're caring for right now. You've got to share the load around, and I really do believe that. And I now will talk to people that are close to me that I can share my feelings with and my emotions with and things like that. So, eventually I put one foot in front of the other, and I got back on my feet. The business was still there, it was still trading. I went to a business improvement type seminar and rebuilt my business. I'll talk a little bit about that in another episode for those that are interested in hearing about what I actually done, the steps there. But basically, I got up and I got on with it, dusted myself off and put one foot in front of the other. But that was some hard times. And I do think that they were probably preventable, and I do still believe that it would have been easier to address. I think it would have been easier to address those mental health issues earlier in order to stop myself from falling over. Yeah. Just a quick one, guys, before I actually do finish up, because like I said, I want to try and keep these fairly short for you guys that are watching, but also for myself. I've sort of got to take 5 and, gear myself up to speak about more of the story. I don't know. It'd be good to hear from you if you're out there and you are watching. Let me know. If you're having struggles, like I said, I can't help you professionally, but I do implore you to reach out to somebody, talk to somebody about it. It's super important to do that, and it does help. It works. It worked for me. It got me out of the shit, and it still gets me or keeps me out of the shit. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.